Greenhagen, I don't have them. I mean, they're working on. I don't have them sitting right in front of me. Is the duplication within that number range?
They are not labeled with exhibit numbers. They're just labeled as direct testimony. I don't know about these exhibit numbers because the files do not have that on them.
Right. Okay. Well, let's make sure we get the objection noted, Mr. Jorde. If you can maybe help us sort this out.
Yeah, I really can't. I'm sure if we look through all the filings that we've got, it goes in there as exhibits 307 to 310, but I can't recall if there was a last minute change to something. I guess if in doubt, the second filed one, I would presume, if any, would be the most recent, but they might be identical. I can't tell you. I don't recall.
Staff's going to take a look right now. We'll get this clarified. Thank you.
Your Honor, if it helps staff, I show these as the first one being filed on July 20th, and it only has attachments 1 through 21, and then the second one being filed July 21st, and that has attachments 1 through 25, if that's helpful.
You have it? I think they've located it. Yeah, which one do we want admitted?
The second one, with attachments 1 through 25.
Second one with attachments 1 through 25. Okay.
Yep, does that say, I can't read it, is it 260? I can't read that. Well, how many pages does it have there?
Yes, it says 260, 1 through 260, 25 attachments. Do you want to look at any of them to make sure we got what you were looking for?
I recognize that by the page number. It's 260. It's that one.
Okay, thank you. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the board will admit and give the way to.
Great, thank you. All right, sir, I'm going to tender you for cross-examination. Some other folks might have questions of you.
Okay. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. How long has this farm been in your family?
I bought the farm in 1989.
Okay. So you're the first owner?
Yeah, my family.
In your family. And you farm it yourself?
Yes.
Okay. In your written testimony, on page 4, you indicate that you never really knew what the final route of the pipeline was. Can you explain that?
They showed me roughly where it's going to be, they thought. But when you read the easement, they can put it anywhere they want. It's kind of a floating deal that if they tell you one place, then it could change to another place if you signed. So I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Let's bring up the KMZ file. While they're doing that, did you talk with any summon agents about where the route would be?
He's only been at our place a few times. There were a couple guys were there. We had 2 land agents to begin with, and one left his card, and the other one I didn't want to talk to. I told him I wasn't interested, and the answer was no for the pipeline.
So you never talked to any summon agents about the route or any alternate routes?
Later on, Stephen Downs, I think is his name, he came out, and I told him what my worries were about the bottom ground. It's not tiled, but it does rain rather well. And I'm afraid if they put a pipeline in, it's going to create a dam and stop the drainage. And I told him, he asked me, well, where would be a better place to put it? And I said, probably up on the lower part of the side hill. I mean, it's still erodible, but at least it wouldn't stop my drainage. And he drew a rough line of where he thought it might go. And I didn't really say okay or anything. I just let him draw the line and show it to me.
We have the KMZ file up now. There are 2 red parcels. Are both of those yours?
Yes, there's 4 pieces of land when there's 2 pictures they sent in. Because right up, where we go, that's a 25-acre field there. They're shutting me off of, the gateway to get into that field is right down here by the trees.
On the north edge of the north section?
Yeah, that's the north field, east side. Because we own this piece here, this here, this, and it can move up a little bit. Yeah, then we own this field down here, and that too, and then this part right here they're cutting us off from.
Okay. So each one of these red squares on the KMZ map is actually 2 parcels, so that makes 4 parcels altogether? Is that right?
I'm colorblind, so which one's red?
Oh.
That one's red there.
That one's red and that one's red.
Okay. What was your question?
So you said you had 4 parcels, so are each one of those red squares divided into 2 parcels then?
Yeah, they're my parcels, yes.
Okay. And it looks like there are some buildings just on the west side of the north parcel.
Yeah, that's our neighbor. That's Aaron.
Okay. And so somebody lives there?
Yeah, somebody lives there, yes. It's two girls and mom and dad.
All right.
And we have 2 bins right there where you see across the road from it. Yes.
Oh, so what is that?
2 green bins.
Oh, okay. Is this highly erodible land?
On the side hills it is, and we usually we have that in alfalfa and grass. And then down here in this field down here, you can see right there where we've got a grass strip to keep it from going down that hill.
Okay, this is on the north edge of the south area.
Yes.
And if we can zoom out a little bit, yeah. So is that white line the pipeline route as you understand it?
I think so.
Is that what Summit indicated to you, or did they indicate to you?
They haven't really indicated anything. I mean, they gave me two maps, and from when I first looked at them, it didn't look like they were going to match up, but I guess right here it looks like they do.
Is there an ethanol plant near your property there?
In Shenandoah.
Okay,
It's like 17 miles away.
okay. Since you filed your direct testimony, have you learned that that ethanol plant, among others, plans to withdraw water for this carbon capture project?
Yes, I am. They went in and applied for an application for a water permit or whatever a while back, and I don't know how many 100 gallons or million gallons they're going to use to cool it down. And then I don't know if they just put it send it back to the river, or they do it through the sewer system, or what they do. But it's going to take a lot of water to cool it down. And right now, they have they don't want people to water their lawns in Shenandoah because of water shortage, a potential water shortage. And it just seems kind of funny they're going to put this much water to a plant.
And And do you think that would impact your property?
I'm sorry.
Do you think that would impact your property?
Which now? The
The
water?
withdrawal of the water?
No, we're 15 miles north.
Okay. You offered Exhibit 604. Can we bring that up? So the first page looks like some references to meetings or hearings that Montgomery County officials had. Is that correct?
Yes.
What and have those occurred, or at least your knowledge of those occurred since you filed your direct testimony?
Yes, I think so. Well, one was in 2022, I think.
Okay. So what experience have you had regarding these local officials?
You mean like our board of supervisors?
Yes.
They're scared to make any decisions right now because they get a threat of being sued if they make ordinances.
What else is on Exhibit 604 that you believe is relevant to your property?
Let's see.
If we could scroll down. Is this, starting on page 2 of Exhibit 604, is that the, what we call the Exhibit H notice that you got from Summit?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did this, the document that starts on page 2, did you know what that was when you received it?
Not really.
So let's scroll on down to the next document. And just keep going until we get to the next document. You mentioned, I think, access to your property through a driveway. Is that correct?
Yes.
How would the pipeline affect that?
It cuts off 98% of our field where they'd be putting the pipeline in. And unless they put another driveway in for us, we couldn't get to 98% of our field because we'd have to cross their pipeline. And most of my fields are cutting off something from it, but I have no access to the road from any of the other ones really that they're not cutting off.
Okay. Well, how would the pipeline cut off your access?
Well, they dig the trench to put the pipe in. They'll have to make me a crossing to go across their trench. The land agent said they could do that.
Mm-hmm. What conversations have you had with Summit's land agents about the impact of the pipeline on your property?
I haven't really had too much conversation about anything. He asked me about the drainage, and I told him where to put it on the side hill. I told him where he drew it, but I just told him it had to go to a side hill where it could let the ground drain.
Okay. So let's go back to the KMZ file if we can. Sorry to bounce around, but using this KMZ map, where did you suggest they put the pipeline?
I told him to put it on a side hill, and he drew a line about right here.
Okay.
And he said then it's going to connect over on the other side of the road right here to Mark Bell, a neighbor of ours. And he said, I said, well, you could go right across there. And he drew the line and said, well, there's an old house site right here.
So this is kind of in the north part of that north section.
Yes. And he said they couldn't go through an old house site.
Is there a house there or?
No, it's gone.
Oh.
And
Is it-
that's where I planned on building a house in the future.
I see.
But I didn't think I had any choice in this thing.
Yeah. Did the agent say why they couldn't go through that old house site?
He said they just can't go through old structure sites like that for some reason.
From what you indicated, the route you suggested would sort of cut your property in half down the middle between east and west. Why would that be better than the pipeline going toward the east side of your property?
Well, this right here is it's good bottom ground, and it drains. But on wet years, I've had to take prevented plant where I couldn't get into the field at all, and some years I've had to replant. And I just don't want them to record any of the drainage it does have now.
Okay, so you're saying that the route you proposed, although you don't want any pipeline, would have at least allowed for better drainage?
Yeah, and it's not as productive a ground either on that side hill. They're using my ground as kind of a transition. If you go up with the map a little bit, like they come off the neighbors down here. If I can get this thing to go there. They come off the neighbors down here. From the map they showed me earlier, they're going to be right along the road from down here. And then they went over this way. I thought if they could just stay along the road here, that's on close to the road, it wouldn't be as harmful to my ground.
So that would be on the west side of your property.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you could maybe cut across their field and go around the hill, just keep it away from Aaron's house.
Okay. Now, there's a parcel between your two parcels that is not shown in red. Who owns that?
Terry Lister, he passed away, now his mom owns it.
Do you know if Ms. Lister has signed an easement or not?
I'm pretty sure, yes, they have.
Okay. So would it be possible? Well, let me ask you this.
That's in CRP. Their ground is in CRP.
I
That's on
see.
mine.
The parcel just east of your north parcel, who owns that?
I do.
Okay. Could the pipeline go through there, perhaps?
That's like right down here. That's a wet spot. Can be. And I'm just trying to keep them off the bottom grounds where the most production is.
Okay. Now your residence is right there, just to the east of the east line of your north parcel. How far would the nearest emergency personnel be if there were a rupture in the pipeline?
Emerson has an all-volunteer fire department. It's about 7 miles away. And then Red Oak is probably at least 17 miles away, 15 to 17, and they are a paid fire department. But I called up and asked the emergency management about it, and the pipeline had called them and introduced themselves, but they never made any kind of plan or anything. Emerson, they never contacted at all.
Has someone ever shared with you any data or facts about how far a plume of CO2 would spread if there were a rupture in the pipeline?
No, they have not. That scares me. Because I farm that thing, I'm over there all the time. My son and I hunt that, And I worry about what would happen if that thing did rupture. Because we've got a friend that his little boy,
And how
he
far?
hunts it too. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, he hunts it too, and he's raising his son like they did mine.
And how far is your house from the pipeline route?
My house is probably about 2 miles away to the west.
Who lives in the house just to the west of your property there?
That's Kevin Kluppinger's son. He's a neighbor.
Okay.
Kevin lives down south, just about straight across from that house.
Okay, so how far would that house be from the pipeline?
I never really measured it.
Okay. Would staff mind doing that? $1,239?
1,259.
59, okay. It looks like there are some wooded areas on your property, is that correct?
Yes.
And is there any water running through your property?
Yes, there is. This is Walnut Creek right here.
Okay.
And these are just two creeks that, I mean, they're about 20 to 25 feet deep, those creeks are.
And are those on the pipeline route, or are they away?
Yes, they're going to be crossing both of them.
Okay. Has Summit told you how they're going to do the construction to cross those creeks?
They were going to bore underneath, I guess. And I have a well right here. I don't know how far that is from the, well, I guess it would be, I'm sorry. The well would be right, right there.
Okay. So up toward the northwest, of the northeast corner?
Yes,
Okay. Of the north property?
yes. That's where we plan on building the house someday.
Okay. And that house would be fairly close to the pipeline, would it not?
Yes, it would. That's it. When we bought the place 35 years ago with the plan of doing that someday, and we're going to plan on having a machine shed, horse shed, and livestock there, and we plan on putting a pond down around here for fishing.
Okay. Toward the east edge of your north property.
Yeah, the plan was to put it about right where the pipeline is.
Okay. In your wooded areas there, are there any animal species that you think are significant?
Yes, there's deer, there's turkey, there's 2 nesting pairs of eagles. And we keep mufflers on our tractors. We do hunt there, but we try our best not to scare them. We protected them for years.
Do you allow hunting on the property by others?
Just that other friend of ours with a son, small son. Anybody that comes on there other than that is trespassing.
Did some of the representatives come on your property to do surveys?
They did. And I've told them to get off several times.
And what happened?
They didn't argue, they got off. But,
Did they ever give you notice that they were coming?
no. Well, Stephen Downs did call once and say maybe they're going to come out sometime in the future.
But you never got any written notice?
No.
Is there anything that the Summit has done or said since you filed your written testimony that you believe is incorrect or that would impact your land?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. Is there anything that Summit has done or said since you filed your written testimony that you believe is incorrect or would impact your land?
Other than threatening eminent domain on me, I haven't really talked to them that much.
Okay. When did they threaten eminent domain?
Several times. We had one group was there, and my son and I went over and saw one guy to the north. There was a car parked up along here, so we stopped to look at the car and just maybe get the license number of it. And when a guy in a Dodge pickup dually, gray, he came back, and I don't know if he was security or what he was, but he was Spanish, and we told him that to get off. They didn't need to be there. If he had anybody out there, because the car was parked there, they had to have been on our field, and he got mad. He used the F word on us. And everything, because right in front of my 16-year-old son. He told us we didn't have a chance. There's too much money involved in it, and it was going to go through. No matter what I did, I didn't have a chance.
So what do you grow on this property? Corn and beans?
Yes, corn, beans, and alfalfa, clover, and grass.
Okay. What do you understand would be the impact of the pipeline on the soil and on the crop production?
It would reduce the yields terribly. And it's wetter ground down on that bottom. If they went in there, they'd just destroy the soil. I mean, we've been no-till we started no-till in 1980, and this farm has always been no-till.
So what particular challenges would the fact that the Summit is going through this no-till land be for you?
The compaction, I mean, they've got some heavy machinery they'd use, and I worry about going out there with tractors. I don't go out there if it's moist at all. Okay. And I tried to protect it as well as I can.
Okay. So any construction would have to be done when the soil wasn't wet and moist?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Ms. Ryan?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. McDonald.
Hello.
I just want to follow up on a couple of the questions Mr. Taylor asked you. First of all, you talked about going hunting on your property. Would you still do that if the pipeline were built?
I might. By myself.
Would you take your son?
No.
Why not?
Just for fear of him getting hurt.
I want to ask you also about your plans to build a house. You're going to put that on that old house site that's at the north of the property.
Yeah, we'd probably have to go in and just probably push some of those trees down and level it up, put a basement in, put a house on there.
And how long have you been planning that?
35 years.
And at what point in the future do you think, if there were no pipeline, at what point would that happen?
My son's a senior in high school, and he plans on going to college for a few years. And then would come back and take over the cattle operation and live where we do. We run a 60 head cow-calf operation, and we sell feeder calves, we sell some 4-H calves, and he was planning on coming back, living there and running that. And I was going to keep, we planned on putting a house right there, and putting a shed, a machine shed up here in this bottom, this flat ground, and then putting a horse shed and cattle shed down here, and then pasturing it. But according to the easement thing, you can't shut gates or anything. You have to leave completely unobstructed access to the farm. So we can't keep livestock on that farm at all because we couldn't shut gates to keep them in, and we can't keep trespassers out because we can't shut gates and keep them out.
So it sounds to me, if I do the math, it would have been within, say, the next 5 years that you would be building a house?
Five or 6 years.
Okay. Have you taken any concrete steps towards making that happen? Building permits or anything like that?
No, we just what we plan on doing.
If someone said to you that that's not a concrete plan, that's just some hypothetical future dream, what would you respond?
I don't know. I think it's a pretty good plan myself. But it's something we really want to do, and we're looking forward to doing it.
Have you, I know you've got a son going to college, so that's probably involves some financial savings. Have you set up your financial situation to be prepared to do that?
Yeah, he has a college fund. And he's got his own cows.
Yeah. And for the house, have you planned financially for building the house?
Oh, but yeah, we have the money put away.
And if the pipeline is built, will you build the house?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we've got a neighbor that is across the Walnut Creek. He's got a family, and he runs a bunch of cows. I don't know how they'd fare if that thing breached.
Have you thought about what you'd do if you didn't build your house there?
Probably stay where we're at, maybe, and build one closer to home, which they don't want to do.
What would it mean to you to not be able to, execute the plan that you've been planning for 35 years?
That's a long time to plan on something to have a change on you. I mean, it would pretty much devastate us. I mean, something we wanted to do.
So, Mr. McDonald, just make sure you're speaking into the mic.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, just make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Okay, I must be getting too far
I
away.
think online they were having a hard time picking
Okay.
you up. So we can hear you in here, but we want to make sure it gets captured.
Okay.
Thank you. You're doing great.
That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Ms. Colas?
Good afternoon, Mr. McDonald. Jean Colas. I just have a few questions. First of all, can you please designate on the KMZ map how far the homestead he desired to build was or would have been next to the pipeline?
You see, it's right in here.
Could you please measure it?
$536.
And you also mentioned that there was a well.
Yes.
And how far away is that from the pipeline?
It's right in here.
Could you measure that?
Yeah, just a little ways from my house.
$622.
Are you concerned that if there's a leakage of some kind, that it could contaminate the well?
Yes, I am.
Okay, related to, I believe it was the supervisor meeting you attended, were they wanting to do setbacks in the county for protection?
A few of them were, but the board of the Mike Olson, he's the head of it. He's scared to death of being sued. That's all he could say when we talk about doing any kind of setback or any kind of a thing. He'd say we're going to get sued.
So that whole county or whatever decided not to proceed with.
Yeah, they said, it's on tape there, where they were threatened at one of the meetings. The guy said, if you pass this ordinance, it was identical to Shelby County's. He said if they succeed in not letting the ordinances pass, that they could suffer. We'd suffer the same fate as Shelby County.
Could you please show me on the KMZ map where the ethanol plant is from his property?
Your Honor, I think he testified that the ethanol plant is quite a ways from his property.
I was going to be bringing up, he is aware of the permit that Summit has applied to for water usage to convert the ethanol into the CO2 gas.
Objection, asked and answered by Mr. Taylor and explained by the witness that he was aware of that and had learned of it since he filed his direct testimony.
He made a comment pertaining to the wastewater after the water has been used to cool down the equipment. Mm-hmm. What is your concern related to that?
Hold on. Ms. Collins, that question is quite a ways outside of the scope.
Doesn't the DNR have to also issue a permit pertaining to wastewater release?
Objection.
State your objection.
Calls for a legal conclusion as to the DNR's jurisdiction.
Ms. Collis.
I just get excited.
I know.
I'm concerned about this. I apologize if I'm out of line.
You're not out of line. Don't apologize. We're working through it.
Well, I guess the rest of my questions I have to table then. I have no further questions.
Okay. Ms. Hayek?
Mr. McDonald? Hi, I'm Chris Hike. I'm a landowner as well. Just have one question for you. Did Summit describe to you or tell you what the diameter of the pipeline would be on your land?
They said that they would pay for crop damage for the first 3 years, 100% the first year, 80% the second year, and 60% the third year. But they were the ones that decided how much damage is done if we send the yields.
Did they tell you the size of what the pipeline would be on your land?
50-foot easement for the pipeline itself. And then I think another 50 feet for construction. But they have access to the whole parcel of ground. If you can pull up that, well, at least you already did, but if you could measure that, how many acres there would be in this field here, they're taking a lot of this. I mean, this goes from the grain bins clear down. And that's all considered theirs to use. I mean, can they store pipe on that? Can they park machinery on it? Can they have their workers park there or what? Because that's corn and beans and alfalfa. The same way with down south on that parcel. I mean, how much of it can they do? I mean, they can park on your corn. I mean, and you just don't drive over stuff like that. It doesn't come back.
Mr. McDonald, did Summit mention to you there's going to be a 6-inch pipe, or 10-inch pipe, 8-inch pipe?
When it first started, I think it was 6-inch. Then they wanted to go to 8-inch, and I'm not sure what it is now.
I believe Summit has requested our utilities board to grant them legal rights to construct up to 24 inches.
I read that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I mispronounced the name. Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Your Honor. Could we pull up this witness's pre-filed testimony at page 15? About 2/3 of the way down the page, there's a Q&A. Sir, do you see that bolded question that says, what is your next concern the IUB should be aware of?
I guess.
You do see that question?
Yeah.
Okay. In your answer, can you read that first sentence to yourself? And I have a question for you. Have you read that first sentence?
Yes.
Thank you. My question for you is, when you said, Summit does not have to repair or restore my land to as good a location or better, did you actually mean as good a condition or better? Is that
Condition,
a typo?
yes.
So that's a typo?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde, for redirect.
Yes, thanks. Mr. Taylor asked you about threats of eminent domain, and you, I believe, referenced that there were multiple, but you only told one of the stories where the Summit representative was swearing at you and your son and saying there's so much money involved, they're going to get the project anyway. What were the other instances?
Just whenever they'd come out and tell me, you should sign the easement now, because if you don't, it's going to go to eminent domain, and you won't get as much as everybody else. I mean, that was several times.
So when Summit's witnesses early on in these proceedings said, they wouldn't use threats of eminent domain, and anyone who would be instantly fired, that wasn't your experience, was it?
No.
In terms of his comment that there's so much money involved, that this is basically a done deal and you can't do anything, what did you take that to mean, there's so much money involved?
From him saying that, and from reading articles, they say they have millions of dollars wrapped up in this, and it's too late to turn back now. Maybe next time. They're a $1 billion company, and they've got millions of dollars wrapped up in this. I'm a small farmer, and my land is worth millions. And I just don't intend on, rolling over and playing dead. I will fight for it.
Do you think the money that they've spent on a speculative business venture is more valuable than the money you've spent over a lifetime on your ground?
No, because, like a farmer, we just don't go out and buy something. We do our homework. We check to make sure we have a market to sell it in. And we just can't go off and just buy something on a whim. These guys should have done their homework. They should have checked with landowners before this started to see if they're willing to give up their land. They didn't. The first time I ever saw these guys, they came to me and said, this is where the pipeline's going. You should sign the easement. You don't do that kind of thing in business. You ask if they can cross your land first. And the answer would have been no. And it still is.
And if they were able to find someone else at a location away from your ground that maybe was okay with hosting a hazardous pipeline, you'd be fine if they moved it off onto someone who was willing, correct?
If they were willing to take the money and take the risk, that's up to them. But I'm not, it's not about the money. It's about passing something down to my son. And, like my grandpa, he came here from Ireland. He bought land and he passed it to my dad. And then my mom and dad worked hard together. And they bought land and they passed it to me free and clear, like Grandpa did my dad. And I mean, the place where we own over home is it'll be a 100-year farm here next year. And this I can't pass to my son free and clear because it's going to have stipulations by a pipeline if this thing passes. They can tell him what he can and can't do. And he could never have livestock over where I'm at. In case he wanted to pass it to his son if he ever has any. I mean, I had this plan before I was even married. I mean, 35 years ago, I wasn't married. And I found a beautiful girl and married her. And she gave me a son I'm very proud of. But the way things stand right now with this pipeline, I'm scared for them. I mean, they help me harvest. I'd be scared to have them over there in case this thing breached. And they're good help. They run a grain cart. Well, my son runs a combine on the weekends and stuff when he's out of school. And we haul it in together. It's a family operation. And they have no right to take that and put fear into our hearts. Just like our neighbors over there that bought acreages. I mean, they bought acreages to get out of the cities. We've got one neighbor south. They're not that far. They're only like 300 feet off the pipeline where they put it. And they have a daughter with Down syndrome. And she looks out the plate glass window and colors every morning and eats her breakfast. And it's just uprooting people's lives because they want to be billionaires rather than millionaires. And all we want is to be left alone.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jorde? Mr. McDonald? Thank you.
No.
Appreciate it.
Can I just make a comment? At the IUB board, I wouldn't want your responsibility. I mean,
It's not that we don't.
I'm sorry.
It's not that we don't
I know.
want to hear. It's that we have a very set of rules and procedures. And as much as I don't want to stop that, and I appreciate your statement, we do have to.
I know. I appreciate what you're doing.
We appreciate you coming.
Keep us in mind, and
Thank you for your testimony.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde?
We will call Bonnie Ewald, please.